Hello, my name is Gladianne from Heart Take the Wheel. In today's video, I'm actually going to dive into a recap of changes over the last 2 years of Heart Take the Wheel because today marks 2-year anniversary. It's crazy. I launched the online stock photo library today 2 years ago. It's just nuts to think that 2 years has already passed. So before we move on, I have something in my eye. Alright, I think I got it. Yes, we are recapping the last 2 years of Heart Take the Wheel, some big changes or whatever little changes that have got us to where I am today. So, one major change, obviously, I started this Heart Take the Wheel specifically in April 4th of 2016, and then I quit my job in July, my full-time job. In July of 2016, I traveled Europe for 30 days all over August, and came back, and Heart Take the Wheel was all I had. Well, and Gladianne Photography. See, at the time, I had 2 businesses, both photo in nature, and one was a portrait, glamour photo portrait business, and then Heart Take the Wheel was just stock photos at the time. And then eventually I worked with a client on my portrait business that had me fall in love with the idea of doing photos specifically for business owners on all different planes, so portraits or stock or product or whatever. And then my audiences started to become the same kind of area, same type of audience, I guess, for both businesses. So in 2017 I got rid of Gladianne Photography and merged everything over to Heart Take the Wheel. So that was another big change that happened. I got rid of my 2 businesses and focused solely on one. Another big change over the last 2 years, when I started Heart Take the Wheel, I already had Gladianne Photography in full swing, so I already had a full living room space in my house was 100% business. But last year, when Heart Take the Wheel started really kind of taking off, I took over yet another section, which is where I'm sitting in, is the office for the business. So this whole room is an office, and then that whole room is a studio. So yeah, that was another big change, just taking over more and more of my house. Eventually, we will just, I don't know, sleep in the car. Last year and most of the end of 2016, especially the end of 2016, the first half of 2017, those were big time periods in my life and business that forced me to kind of face stuff. Soul searching is kind of the wrong word. It's more like I faced a lot of challenges that forced me to face shit in life, whatever. Basically, a lot of stuff happened and I had to learn very quickly about who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what's my purpose, all these things. It was a lot of reflection and a lot of learning. It was a very quick, deep dive learning curve into so many freaking things. Because whenever you're working for a job or you're going to school or you're following a program of sorts, you're following a path that is kind of outlined for you, there's not a lot of questioning going on of where you should go and what you're doing and why you're doing it and all that stuff. So it was the first time that I had to really face those types of questions and figure a lot of my own shit out. Because yeah, when you're running your own business and that's what you do 100% of the time, you have to, I don't know, face this stuff a lot. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but yeah, that was a big change. Also doing my taxes was a huge change this year because this was the first year, because 2017 was the first full year I only worked my business and did not have any W-2s to report. Isn't that crazy? So that was really weird to fill out my taxes and not have any W-2s on there. That was a big change. Obviously, my branding changed over the course of 2 years. So when I started, I kind of modeled my branding after what was out there that people were familiar with, because I didn't really know where to begin with my branding back then as far as the visual elements. Because branding is way more than just visual elements, but that's what I'm talking about here. So I started off with pink as my main kind of visual color for Heart Take the Wheel. And I didn't love it. I like pink, don't get me wrong, but I didn't love it and didn't feel like a natural fit, but I tried very hard to make it fit. Until last year, I sat down and tried to answer, because I created a branding course, and I sat down with my own branding course and asked myself the same questions, and I dived into it myself for my business and found out that, you know, green really was a better fit. It made more sense, and it was a natural fit, and I didn't have to work hard for it, but I didn't like that idea because it's not something I've seen much of, and it wasn't comfortable, it wasn't familiar, and so I tried it. That was how I kind of like settled in on it. It was really funny because after, you know, it just made sense was one part of it, but visually, do I like it was another thing. So I was redesigning my site late last year, and I kind of put in the back end, when you design your site and no one else can see, I put in green as my color, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this because I know I'm not gonna like it, and then once I figure that out, I can move on and figure out a new situation. And once I put it on there, I was like kind of hating that I loved it so much. So yeah, green turned into be my brand color, and it just makes so much sense, especially when you meet me and when you see my house. And I mean, of course, plants is a big part of it, but it's just a more natural fit. It fits into my stock photos more naturally. It fits into my home and my office and my studio and my, you know, elements. It fits into everything way more natural. It doesn't feel like a lot of work to incorporate my branding color and visual elements into things anymore, which is kind of crazy. And it feels so natural and such a good fit that I don't see it changing. Whereas before, when it was pink, or, you know, whenever you're in that early stage where you're kind of like just trying something on for the moment, you can tell that this isn't a permanent thing. Yeah, so green feels pretty permanent. Feels like I don't even have to think about it. Whereas before, when I would apply my brand color, I was like, do I really like this? Like every time I tried using it. So it just feels different. Hope that makes sense. I know I rambled, but 'tis the way of things. Also, along the lines of kind of in the beginning stages of Heart Take the Wheel, I was where I was staging kind of parts of my business after what I've seen and what I know people already are familiar with. You know, because sometimes, you don't always, not everybody goes through those like imitation stages, but I definitely did with my stock photo business. And after a while, and around the same time as the green, or a little before the green, I started realizing that my style of stock photos wasn't the put everything all over the place and fill the frame with stuff. It was more minimal, and I just loved it. When I did minimal packs, not everybody received them very well, but I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I know that I'm creating for people, but I also know that I want to create what I like to create. So there's like two folds there. And eventually, when I started putting out more of the minimal style, I attracted more of the people who liked that sort of style as well. Because there's plenty of stock photo people out there, so many, and I know a lot of them personally. And it's great that there are so many, because there's a lot of different needs for the photos. You know, there's different styles and different subjects and elements that you kind of want, and even editing styles that people want in their business. So I'm not a perfect fit for everyone, and I'm not trying to be. And that was a big switch, is trying to not be perfect for everyone and feeling at ease to recommend another photographer for them, or, you know, just sort of doing what I want to do, which is a very minimal style. And then I also found some freaking amazing humans online, especially through Instagram, because I feel like in the first stages of Heart Take the Wheel, I was just putting myself out there a lot, but not really making extra efforts to connect and engage with the other humans, right, that are in the world. So, especially last year, the second half of last year, I focused very heavy on community and relationships and engagement, and actually getting to know everyone on the other end of this, so that I can build those connections, not just on the platforms where we meet one another, but also on platforms like face-to-face on Zoom, or DMing, or face-to-face like in person. So it's been wonderful building these relationships further than just liking and commenting on photos on a platform. So I will say that's kind of like my favorite thing right now is the community that I've built over the last probably 6 to 8 months or something like that. 6 to 9 months has been, I mean, I've been building this community for a long time because we naturally are, but I've focused on the community side of everything the last 6 to 9 months. And I don't see that going away because I'm freaking addicted to that part of business. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention is not a big change, but what has not changed. And there's one really cool thing that has never changed since I started Heart Take the Wheel back in April 4th, 2016, and that was my opt-in. That is the part that has not changed. My opt-in is the same. You can join my newsletter, get a free photo every month, and get access to the VIP lounge, is what it's called, where you can get access to all the previous free stock photos that I gave out month to month to my newsletter list. And that's going to wrap up this video. I will see you tomorrow in another video. And I'm going to get off here and celebrate my 2 years with Heart Take the Wheel. I mean, this is freaking so cool.